The railway station was a world of its own. Trains screeched, vendors yelled, and travelers rushed past, lost in their own worlds. Amidst the chaos, a beggar sat in his usual spot, his outstretched hands hoping for generosity. His days were predictable, his life unchanging. But today was different. As he scanned the crowd, his eyes locked onto a man unlike any other he had seen. The man was tall, well-dressed, and carried himself with the confidence of someone who had never known struggle. This man looks wealthy. If I ask him, surely he will give me a good amount, the beggar thought. He hurried toward the man, bowing slightly as he extended his hands. "Sir, please, have mercy. A little help will go a long way." The man stopped, looked at him, and smiled, but there was something unsettling about that smile. Instead of reaching for his wallet, the man asked, "You always ask from others, but have you ever given anything to anyone?" The beggar blinked, confused. "Sir, I am just a beggar. I have nothing to give. How can I give anything to anyone?" The man's expression hardened. "If you can't give, then you have no right to ask." He paused for a moment, then added, "I am a businessman. I believe in give and take. If you have something to offer me, then, only then, will I give you something in return." And just like that, the man turned and stepped onto the train. The beggar stood frozen as the train pulled away, the man's words echoing in his mind. "No right to ask, give and take, but I am a beggar. I have nothing." Yet, deep inside, something shifted. That night, as he curled up to sleep under the dim lights of the station, he couldn't stop thinking. Maybe the reason he never got much was because he never gave anything. But what could a beggar possibly offer? For 2 days, he wrestled with the question. And then, on the third day, fate revealed the answer. As he sat near the tracks, lost in thought, he noticed a small bush swaying in the wind. Tiny, delicate flowers bloomed on its branches, untouched by the dust and grime of the station. Flowers, a spark of an idea lit up in his mind. What if I give flowers to people who give me money? The thought filled him with excitement. It wasn't much, but it was something. That morning, he carefully plucked a few flowers and held them in his hands as he approached travelers. When someone gave him money, he handed them a flower in return. At first, people were surprised. Then, something incredible happened. They smiled. They accepted the flowers, holding them delicately as if they were treasures. The next day, he did it again. And again. People started noticing him, not as a beggar, but as the man who gave flowers. More people began giving him money, and he, in turn, gave them flowers. But there was one problem. When he ran out of flowers, fewer people gave him money. "I need more flowers." One evening, as he boarded a train to beg, his heart stopped. The tall man was there. Their eyes met. This time, the beggar felt something he hadn't felt before: pride. He rushed to the man, his hands no longer empty. "Sir," he said eagerly, "today, I have something to give you. Please, accept these flowers." The man's face softened. Without hesitation, he handed the beggar some money and took the flowers. He studied them for a moment, then smiled. "Wonderful. You've become a businessman like me." The train doors closed, and the man disappeared once more. But this time, his words didn't just linger, they transformed the beggar. That night, he stood by the tracks, his fists clenched, his heart pounding. He looked up at the sky and shouted, "I am not a beggar anymore. I am a businessman." People around him stared, some whispering, some laughing. But he didn't care. He had made a decision. 6 months later, 2 well-dressed men stood on the same railway platform, waiting for a train. One man glanced at the other and extended a hand. "Do you recognize me?" he asked. The second man hesitated. "No, I don't think we've met before." The first man smiled. "We have. Twice. Don't you remember the beggar you once spoke to?" The second man's eyes widened. "You. But how?" The once beggar chuckled. "Yes, I was that man. But today, I am a successful flour merchant. I'm on my way to another city for business." The businessman stared, speechless. "You taught me something that day," the flour merchant continued. "We only receive when we give. That rule changed my life. I was never a beggar, I just didn't see myself the right way. People weren't giving me alms. They were paying for the flowers I gave them. I used the money to buy more flowers, and now I own a flourishing business." A slow smile spread across the businessman's face. "You understood the lesson better than I expected." The 2 men shook hands, then boarded the train, one a teacher, the other a student who had surpassed his teacher. This story teaches us a profound truth: self-perception shapes our reality. The beggar's greatest transformation wasn't in his wealth, it was in his mindset. When he stopped seeing himself as someone who could only take and started thinking like someone who could give, the world responded in kind. Success isn't about luck. It's about value. When we stop seeing ourselves as powerless and start asking, "What can I offer?" we open doors to opportunities we never imagined. Give first. Believe in your worth. And watch as life gives back to you.